Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we've got a great episode for you today. But before we introduce our topic, I do want to remind everybody it is that time of the year. It is that time of the year that we are sprinting, not walking, not jogging. We are sprinting to the end of the year. This is the time that as entrepreneurs, we are launching new products, we are getting out to market, we are talking with our customers, and above all, we are fundraising. We are fundraising and preparing for the next year plus ahead as we look to build our companies, bring on new partners, and really help to scale where we're going in our markets. What does that mean for investors? Guess what? Great opportunities, great companies, tons to know, tons to be mindful of as you're looking at some of the best opportunities of the year, as so many people are fundraising. Now, let's introduce our topic, because here on VCTV, because of this time of year, we are doing double episodes every single day, every week. We've got packed information to make sure both sides of the table, entrepreneurs and investors, have what they need from a technology, an industry, and a region perspective. So you can make the best decisions to enter new markets, to fundraise, and to be successful and partner with those that make the most sense for you. And today's topic, we're going to be going deeper than what we spoke about just a few days ago here on VCTV, and that is the Industrial 4.0. We're going down a level. We talked a little bit about manufacturing, supply chains, and logistics earlier in the week. Today, we're going robots, 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 no repeat, all robotics, but we're going down at the industrial level. We're going to look at what's happening and how technology and innovation is being applied at the Industrial 4.0 and what all that entails. But before we get started, a big thank you. Thank you so much, audience, for tuning in today. We appreciate it. If you're an investor and you'd like to be on a show like today or others, we've got a number of topics. Would love to have you on to share your thoughts and insights about what's happening either in technology, industries, or regions around the world. So do reach out to Maria, the LATOKEN team, and or myself, and we'll find the right spot for you. And entrepreneurs, I mentioned at the beginning, and there's a reason why. This is a sprint to the end of the year. You want to be meeting as many people as possible. You want to be sharing your company, your vision, your message with the world. And here on VCTV, we actually offer you that opportunity. We have a virtual stage for you and your team to get up and actually pitch us as investors, very focused, niche investors, your product, your company, along with our live audience. Reach out to the team and myself, and we'll find the right spot for you as well. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, last thing, it's Rock and Roll Friday here on VCTV. We had a little talk off show and decided to switch it up, have a little bit of fun. We got Gary Fowler in the corner, dueling pianos. We got Lewis rocking the Black Sabbath and me with the Pink Floyd. We are rock and rolled out, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready. It's going to be a fun episode here on VCTV. With that, let's go ahead and welcome our guests. You've seen them, you've heard them. They're the greatest. They're brilliant in what they think and what they talk and what they know about. So let's go ahead and introduce each and every one of them. Lewis, welcome back to the show. Little intro, little background.
Kyle, always great to be here. As you said, Rock and Roll Friday. We're making it happen. Gary got the piano. Gary, you got to go on that piano, start hitting the keys. But to give you guys just a little background, if you haven't been watching the show, you should be tuning into VCTV because there's a lot more than you think that's here. It's informative, it's educational, it's here for you so you can learn and kind of grab some things and help that. Put that in your toolbox to help you along the way. Okay. I've been involved in finance for over 25 years. I'm a managing partner at FGA Partners. I'm also the CEO of Megahoot, an American software and technology company. We have a lot of cool things going on in AI and everything else. We're looking to make this show today very interesting because with Gary's insight on AI and my insight on whatever and Kyle's insight on everything else, we're going to make it enjoyable. Just enjoy it. And Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath, I don't know what Gary got going on, and I hope it's not, well, I don't know. Anyway, let's pass this over to Gary.
Yeah. Gary, to you. Welcome back to the show, my friend, my other co-host. It's a pleasure to see you. If you can, a little intro, a little background for those who don't know, the Grand Master of Artificial Intelligence.
Thank you very much. So my name's Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. And I've been doing startups for 35 years, quite a long time. And I've done 15 companies. My first company, I was dumb luck. I made about $9 million in that company, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was really lucky. I hit the right market at the right time with the right product. So really incredible. It was a construction tech company. I think that, AI is a new electricity, and the GSD, which is my company, Get Shit Done Venture Studios. We're looking for the most resilient teams in the world to go global. Because if we look at everything we do, we talk about robotics, artificial intelligence comes into play in some way, shape, or form. I also started the first accelerator in Russia, and one of the number one private corporate accelerator was something I did. And EVA, my second unicorn, is close to unicorn status now. It's an AI company that does remote workforce management. And I'm excited. It's great to be here. I'm an investor. I'm a serial entrepreneur. And I love talking to my friends, Lewis and Kyle. It's great to be here.
We're totally happy to have both of you here, and this is going to be a fun episode. As we have a fun time in every episode of VCTV, but I think today's going to be a little special. I'm feeling it. Rock and Roll Friday here on VCTV. But gentlemen, let's just dive right in. I mean, Industrial 4.0. We've talked about this in the past. It continues to come up. In the past, it did not. This was not really an area most people wanted to talk about. It's not an area that they wanted to invest. It was an area that was very unattractive for most, even from a development standpoint, right? It was very established, very just, it works. Let's not try to fix it. And then about 20 years ago or so, we started to see governments and local regions around the world start to put a little bit more emphasis on this and start to really apply incentives to advance these industries. And then corporations started getting into it and putting new technology, innovations, and advancements into it as well. And now all of a sudden, here we are, the Industrial 4.0, the next wave of where things are going in terms of our technology and our innovation. It's finally here. And so to each of you, I would love to hear your views on the current state of Industrial 4.0 as we enter this fourth and potentially merging with a fifth wave of technology and innovation as things are condensing and happening so fast. So Lewis, let's start with you, and then Gary will come over to you. But what do you see as the current state of Industrial 4.0?
It's interesting, very interesting. As we spoke about it on another show, basically in the world of manufacturing, robotics is gonna play a key role because they want to get rid of the menial labor. They want to get rid of those little, those things that you have to do a million times. Ford created the assembly line a long time ago and basically set the stage for technology in manufacturing. Now it's more prevalent. Now it's more important. And utilizing artificial intelligence, augmented reality, you're going to have a combination of not only the manufacturing facility being, robotic, not totally robotic, but robotic enough. You're going to have more, you're going to have skilled labor there that'll sit there, and you're going to have people learning and getting higher paying jobs, having a skill set they can take from company to company. And then augmented reality for learning. You can teach someone how to put something together virtually. And that is going to save time, money, and it's going to allow people to actually perfect what they do. And Gary is the AI expert, so I'm going to pass it over to him so he can chime in.
Yeah, sure. Just look at what's happened in the manufacturing. So robotics and industry 4.0 has decreased the cost of maintenance across the board for companies that have implemented by about 30%. So, but the challenge is manufacturing is like the nuts and bolts business. They're laggards behind the fintech, financial markets, the healthcare markets. I mean, robotics is further ahead there. And where do we need it the most? So, but think about the possibilities when you look at defects, being able to scan for defects. The challenge is we need to develop standards so robots are able to talk to each other. We need open standards. In 2020, it's supposed to be the year of the open standards. And I believe, because of this digital transformation, and we've been thrown into an environment where We don't want people to work as close together. It's kind of forced some things in manufacturing that we're going to take a little longer to happen faster. And I am really excited about it, actually. And of course, artificial intelligence, having systems that think, they used unsupervised AI. In fact, Kyle, I gotta relate a little story because David just sent me a video.
Please.
He got his dog Blixie, who is a robotic dog, looks like the Boston Dynamics dog. That dog is communicating with his house and listening to commands of the house. The house, the AI of the house. So Morpheus is communicating with his dog. I saw the dog operate and walking around his house. It is truly amazing to see two systems talking about things they need to do, including, going outside and walking around and patrolling, playing with the kids. I mean, it's amazing actually, but it exists. He's developed it that his house is controlling its dog, not their dog, its dog.
I mean, this is fascinating. Again, we look at Industry 4.0 and we look at the transformation from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to this now very digitized world that we're moving in, right? So for those who may not be aware, right, the Industrial X.0 really classifies each new wave of technology or innovation that we hit that springboards the generation to come, right? So you look at streamlining manufacturing, you look at energy usage, you look at television, all of these things played in different roles at different times. And I'm speaking very generally, but each and every one of those played a huge role. And now as we look towards Gary and Lewis's point, now is this industrial 4.0, or as I mentioned, kind of a 5.0, where we are just looking towards and living now more than ever this digitized future. And that digitized future is something I don't think any of us have really been prepared for. And when we look at it from robots and manufacturing and just as a whole, I mean, how will we be ready for this? Because it's happening now, but there's going to be this transition period that we start to get into it, right? So robots in our homes to robots in the manufacturing facility. How are we putting ourselves out there to start adapting? So Lewis, to you, I mean, how are we looking at adopting to this, both as consumers and then as the enterprise?
Well, that's a good point, and I'm glad that the show is veering towards robotics, not only on commercially but personally on an individual basis. A lot of it's funny how people have a misconception of how robotics works, how artificial intelligence works. Artificial intelligence is going to change. It has changed the scope of everything that we do for the better. Okay, and machine learning and having the data, the big data, all that stuff is helping artificial intelligence to continue to scale up, and that's what's going to help robots to actually be more effective in manufacturing. Having robotics there is going to minimize. You're talking about mitigating the errors, mitigating the risk, because if you go and you mitigate your loss factor, okay, your margins are going to go higher. Okay, so doing that, and then the consumer benefits because they're getting a quality product. And we have robotics now. You have AI and some type of robotics with Amazon, the Alexa, with Google and their Google thingamajig. Okay, that doesn't listen. All right, and
But
then
maybe
you
listen too much.
yeah, exactly. You don't know. They're listening to everything all the time. But also you have people that are going to embrace robotics because if you can have a robot go and do things around your home, okay, it makes things easier. Your life becomes less burdensome. All of a sudden you can have other things, that you can have the a robot cleaning your windows, doing this, doing that, but it only works with artificial intelligence. A robot is a machine without the brain. It's like having a body, no brain. I mean, if you have no mind, your body's not moving. So we need the AI, and Gary's again the master at AI. So he knows more than anyone that you have to incorporate it. So having disruptive technology and AI is what's going to help us to bring all this stuff to life. So I'm going to pass it over to Gary so he can tap into that.
Oh, Gary, you're on mute.
Yeah, I got it. The thing is, so look at the areas with the industrial, and then let's talk about the next level up. So things like intervention and collision avoidance systems, robotic surgery, nano level manufacturing, operations in dangerous situations where you just don't want to go for all kinds of reasons, gas situations, et cetera. Air traffic control. I mean, to make it better to be able to control the planes coming in. And then efficiency, right, for zero energy buildings. But then let's look at it. So this is really coming together. So the thing is right now is that those same systems that we're going to deploy across manufacturing are the same kind of robot. There's a convergence, right? Because the AI is getting at the right level, and the flexibility of those systems with 5G and Internet of Things are converging. It's going to be at a point where those same kind of robots are going to be used everywhere, right? And so 80% of them will be the same, 20% will be different. And that's happening right now. And that convergence is taking place. And Lewis was right on target, because you're right. Think about the robotic processes we use now. Think about the chatbots. Think about how our lives have changed. Now I can use Alexa. I have Ring. I got all kinds of ways that I've already started to control things. Now it's going to go to unsupervised AI, like I told you about my friend David Yang's house, where you have unsupervised AI that starts to think on its own and starts to talk to other robots. That's where it starts getting really interesting. And cobots, being able to work on manufacturing alongside a robot, being able to do surgery alongside a robot, right? That's where it's coming to that point. I mean, it's happening today.
Well, and we get into the world. So to your point of the Internet of Things and a little bit of my background, I mean, you actually start to begin to see the power of the Internet of Things, right? We start to get into that sensor deployment where everything and anything has a sensor, and everything and anything collects and or generates data that then shares that respectfully, hopefully, with where it needs to create these smarts, to create these intelligent applications, right? Whether that's the smart factory, that's the smart home, or that's the smart building. In either case, these sensors are now out there. And Gary, you also brought this up, connectivity. So one of the things that we have seen in Industrial 4.0 being talked about and now starting to be realized is the power and amplification of connectivity, right? Where we went from these smaller areas of 3G, 4G, and internal Wi-Fi to now really opening up that spectrum. So there's connectivity almost anywhere. And now you've got sensors that are listening, learning, powering, creating data, sharing that, getting data back, and making adjustments. So to your point, that automation area, and I think this is one of the biggest opportunities in Industrial 4.0 is that automation piece. Everything works in a simple circle and then continues to work, optimize, and become more efficient as well. So couldn't agree more with you. I mean, those sensors, you actually start to see the power of those as they come now.
Kyle, yesterday I had the pleasure, I've got my show, GSD Presents, and I actually have the general manager for Internet of Things for Intel is going to appear in the show. And yesterday directly, he is the guy that runs it. 21 years at Intel, right? The big kahuna of IoT for Intel. And we had some conversations. I got to tell you, it was fascinating to hear about, smart cities and how, the connections together, being able to control everything, being able to monitor everything, being able to do a lot of the things in Industry 4.0. And it was it's a whole new world. It's unbelievable where this convergence, as I said, of AI and robotics is coming together. So Samir Sharma is his name. And if you want, I'll send over an invitation. I'll have my chief of staff send it over for people that want to see it. It's just, I'm curious myself. It's very interesting to see what's the next level, right? So we talk about this convergence, but what's the convergence actually look like?
hmm I don't think any of us can process that right now. I mean, there's only a handful of individuals, I'd argue. And Lewis, jump in. I mean, this is
Yeah,
or
I
feel
have to
free
jump in a little bit.
please,
Yeah,
please.
because I think, Gary, you're on point with a lot of things. That convergence is happening, and people don't see it. Don't you, if
hmm
you're paying attention, you're seeing it. You're talking about a crossover. You're smart cities. Smart cities, they've been developed. In New York, New York is a smart city. Connectivity. They're taking the old telephone, the old telephone post. They're putting, you have nodes on there, so now you're getting more connectivity wherever you go, and they're looking to create more of that. Yeah, I forget the company, and forgive me for that, but I think it's in Japan. Kyle, I mentioned this to you before, but they created a smart city, and Gary, you may know, a smart city at the base of a mountain where they have autonomous vehicles. They have like the city of tomorrow. The city of tomorrow is happening more so now than ever. And that's what people need to look at, because right now, with what happened with COVID, it brought things that may have been 3 years out to now 3 months out, 4 months out,
hmm
and everything's starting to escalate, and it's important that municipalities, governments, they get involved, and they do this stuff now. Gary, you made mention of having, an open source situation for robotics and AI, that type of thing. This is part of the problem, because you can't it's hard for people to think about it, say, hey, as a corporation, how am I going to monetize this, and how am I going to protect my intellectual property without letting anything get out? In this world of ours, we have to take a page out of Elon Musk's book, and say, you know what? Here goes a technology. It's for the world. It's not for us to go and grab onto. We may create it. It's like saying, hey, Thomas Edison, you create the light bulb. Hey, no one else can do it. You can't give it to anyone. No one else can make it happen. If that was the case, we'd be in the dark. We'd have no internet. We would have nothing right now. We wouldn't even know each other. Everything is evolving, and having that co-working situation between corporations is going to be important. AI is at the forefront of this. Robotics, they're machines, but without the brain part of it, it becomes difficult. And that connectivity amongst people, whether
hmm
you're in the United States, whether you're in West Africa, everybody relies on their mobile phone. When you have 5G sprinting all over the place, what do you think these people are going to do? They're going
hmm
to, I mean, you're talking about millions of people blowing up, and you're going to have, whether it be social media, whether it be search engines, whatever it may be, and smart cities, all these things are going to start to happen a lot quicker. So
hmm
I'll pass it over to you, Kyle, so you can do your thing.
No, I think you guys are both right. I mean, look, there's so much. This is not um, to say this in the most respectful way. This is, and it's easier to look back now, right? This is as big in some cases as seeing like steam power or coal power long, long ago, right? And they are, I believe, one or two uh, point oh of the industrial revolution. But now, fast forward, I mean, what we are about to head into, and again, to Gary's point, we are in it, but let's look forward. What we are about to head into is going to spring or slingshot us 10 years ahead of the future. I mean, in terms of what we predicted, right? We go back a year or two, we're looking at the Internet of Things. It's continuing to, hopefully be something. We're looking at smart buildings. It's like, oh, we've got a Nest Cam, we've got, a smart speaker. Oh, that's, to us, that is, now an intelligent world. Fast forward, and Gary, you pointed this out, we've been forced into digitization. Now take that into a point where we leverage it. And we look at what the industrial 4.0, and I actually pulled it up here, the joys of being a host. We've got these extra computers here, but I'm looking at it. You got mobile devices, IoT, location detection, machine learning, facial recognition, 3D printing, smart sensors, big data, which we'll just summarize everything in, augmented reality, wearables, digital visualization, on-demand compute power. These things now, making those work, making those a part of our lives. I mean, this is a whole different direction that we are all thinking about taking. This powers everything differently. This makes us think differently, both as investors, but then also as entrepreneurs. I mean, the type of products that we're going to build, how we're going to interact as consumers, it's all changing. and changing dramatically. So to both of you, where are the opportunities? Where should people be really looking at specifically placing their bets or building in these industries? Because to me, it's endless. But where's the one or two lanes that you're going to tell you think people should really be focused on and pick their bets on? Lewis, we'll go with you, and then Gary will come over to you.
So I was going to give Gary the ball, but I'll do it. Yeah, I just want to touch on something. You talk about how things are evolving in our lifetime. The three of us here and all the viewers out there in your lifetime, we went from a 1G mobile phone to where are we now? We're at 5G connectivity. The company that actually changed the game and made it affordable for everyone, believe it or not, was T-Mobile, because they shook things up. One price. You weren't getting charged by the minute. At one point in time, AOL was by the minute. Gary, remember that? AOL was by the minute. Okay. You're hearing the and that was by the minute. Okay. Now what do we have? We have high speed.
Yeah. By the way, just as a fun fact, that was a minute of pain. You paid for that minute of pain.
Oh, from the time you went to connect with all the fuzzy noise, and then AOL made a killing. But where's AOL now? AOL is non-existent. They have things going on with their email. They're non-existent in this new world, and they pioneered a lot of things. So the evolution of things is important. And with smart cities on the move, you got to look at companies that are coming out with smart technology. Look at companies that are involved in disruptive AI, and advanced AI, okay, and the incorporation of blockchain, is important, because you're talking about the security aspect of things. If you can go and connect all this stuff, you're going to have something great. It's not just about having, one-dimensional platforms that really are not scalable, or they can't do or evolve into something greater. You need these platforms that can evolve to something greater. Okay. And with robotics, you have a lot of companies out there that are creating this stuff. Okay. But as far as the focus from where I stand, the machines are one thing. You'll have machines that do all types of stuff. You have mechanical engineers that create this stuff. That is great, but without the brain, it's not going to work the way you want it to work. And that's why AI, augmented reality, Gary pointed this out, as far as in the different industries, medical industry, education. I mentioned that yesterday. A lot of other industries where you have all the robotics, AI, and even augmented reality, all this stuff working together for the future. And the connectivity in smart cities is going to be ridiculous. From your lights to everything is here now. But once things are connected, what's going to happen? You're going to have one home connected to another home, so on and so forth. In cities, you're going to have the grid. Everything's going to be connected. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun to see. It's going to be crazy. And I don't think we're going to live to see everything be where it needs to be. But hopefully we'll be around.
Gary, to you, I mean, same question. Where are those opportunities? Where in AI should people be focusing on in something specific? Where should people be looking?
So, as you said, it's very pervasive. So if it's healthcare, so nanobots. I mean, it's happening today. This isn't something this is like a tsunami coming in. And the thing is, we need to understand it's happening, and we need to be prepared. And so it does happen incrementally, but as that wave starts to hit, you want to be able to ride the wave. So where are the opportunities? So across the board. So in terms of manufacturing, I just said earlier that manufacturing is way behind the times. I mean, think about it. And you're right, Kyle, because of digitization and digital transformation, people more accepting of it than they were before. So collaborative robots, if we look at the Internet of Things tied in, 5G, as I said, I mean, think about it. This all has to be tied together with 5G. I just talked to one of my friends. It's a 5G investor, and he bought a portfolio of 5G shares a year ago, and it's up 100%. It's up 100. You know what I mean? Across the board. So this is like, keep it simple, stupid. So, T-Mobile, Verizon. I mean, it's like Apple's coming out with a 5G phone next week or something. Well, maybe not the best in the beginning, but it'll be great over time. This is where it's going to be. And people think about it. Think about the technologies, right? So your house, the connections with 5G and sensors within your house. even inside of your house, not even needed in Comcast in its present form, because you've got a 5G card plugged into a little box and you get everything from anywhere. So, and your TV could be a controller for everything. It's amazing. So in terms of investment, it grows literally across the board. So AI, robotics. So I said medicine, I said financial, I said manufacturing, automotive industry. We've got tractors, robotic tractors. I just worked with a company in Russia that actually has tractors that are now tested out in the field, running on their own, way, way more efficient than just a John Deere or International Harvester tractor, running in a field, going up and down with some new technologies, not LiDAR, but autonomously taking care of doing the agriculture. Now imagine that. And so think about how much more efficient we can be with those kind of systems in place. So let's extrapolate. If we look today where we need to go, we know that AI is going to be a significant part of it. If I was an investor, I would look at companies that are looking at semi-supervised and unsupervised artificial intelligence. Then I would look at compassion, because these when these convergence takes place, the things that make them more motion, like the article I wrote in Forbes a few weeks ago, motion AI, it's going to need to be incorporated into those systems to make, if we want to have an assistant, which is going to happen, we want a compassionate assistant, right? So so the chatbots we have now are starting to help us. The robots are out there, the Internet of Things, it's all converging into one. The companies that focus on that convergence are going to make a bloody fortune around the world. And you're right, Louis, this is a small world. It's not like it used to be. I mean, in this morning, I've been on Dubai, last night, Japan. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, Australia. So we have changed everything. And now those systems are going to be, as you said, we need to communicate better. One robot's going to need to talk to another one. We're going to have to train them to be smarter. I mean, the intelligence of a robot today is about the brain of a fly. Our brain processes 60,000 complex transactions per day. We need to duplicate that. The challenge is we need to make sure based on Moore's law, 18 months later, we don't want it to be twice as smart. We want it to be smart, but we want to make sure that we're there. So it's a fascinating time. This convergence, look for the convergence. Look for vertical markets that need to be much more efficient than they are today, and then have some type of hazard about them where we can have systems that are a lot stronger than a lot smarter help us.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Louis, anything else to add on that?
Yeah, Gary, you made mention of the emotion, the compassion. It's interesting because if you call somebody a robot, they have no emotion. So having that part of it, incorporating that compassion into AI is very interesting. And I always say this, and Kyle, I told you this a few times already. I'm a movie guy, so if you can create, I'm a creative person. So if you can create it in a movie, this is something that can happen in reality, like sending someone to the moon or doing this, doing that. So, I mean, smart cities, they were in movies, 15, 20 years ago. And look at what's happening now. Okay. The compassionate robot, there was a movie called, what was it? AI, where they were trying to create compassion within a little robotic child. Okay. This stuff will come to pass. You have very smart people out there that are working on it. And, the convergence is important, but also the cooperation. Okay, cooperating between companies, because this technology, you may have a missing part that can turn everything up, but you're not getting it because someone's holding on to it for dear life because they're trying to monetize it. And look, we live in a capitalist world. It's about making things happen. So, but I do urge companies out there that have this technology, as far as it relates to the future, share it. Okay, let these entrepreneurs, these smaller companies that have an idea but they're missing something, like even what we're doing right now, and having this meeting, this conference, this show, what we're doing right now, we could not have done this years ago because it would be spotty. We'd see half a Kyle. There'd be no background stuff. And some people wouldn't be able to connect. But it's
Mhm.
just getting to be a lot faster. Where everything's moving faster. But the compassion part of it, yeah, that's going to be a task. But you have some smart people that'll figure it out.
And that's what we're all here for, right? That's what we do VCTV for. That's what we are all here as entrepreneurs and investors to talk about, to invest in, and to build. I mean, I think you both are right. It's spot on. The convergence, the convergence, the convergence. To reiterate exactly what Gary just said, please.
Yeah, Kyle, it's a lot about the training sets. I was on a panel yesterday in Asia, and it's a lot about the training sets. Like I say, I know for, Eva, our company, we had a lot of training sets, a wide band of training sets. It's the training sets. If the AI is trained in the wrong way, it's like having a kid, that's deprived. It's like Harry Harlow's study about monkeys. You have a monkey that is deprived and put on a wire cage, and another one that's got a soft towel and a bottle. I mean, it becomes more socially adjusted. We got to train it to be the right way, and if we do that, and it's not easy, because it's nurturing, but we got to train it to that gives us the best opportunity that's not going to turn against us. But if we make it pragmatic and businesslike, it could have problems because listen, we're carbon and we take up a lot of things and we create a lot of problems, right? Wars. I mean, we pollute things. I mean, if you were us and just looking at us, you would say, well, why do we need them? Because nothing good's happening, right? There's 8.8 billion that are ruining the planet, and we got fires and everything else and wars. So you got to just make sure, we got to be a bit kinder. We have so much to do. Think about space, robotics in space.
Mm.
Your friend Christopher Altman, we had some conversations about robotics in space. I mean, we got 6 billion Earth-like planets within the Milky Way galaxy and 100 billion galaxies to explore. I mean, we've got to have some kind of robotic systems that can go out there like we have now with these probes that can help us explore and understand what's happening. Venus, they just detected some life, right? Some potential life on Venus, 2 days ago? Actually, he wrote me, Christopher. And I think that, we're just in the beginning of an incredible journey. And so these systems are going to help us do things we've never even realized, even thought about before. But they're coming true now.
Go ahead, Lewis. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna tag on to Gary, and you're right. Having robotics, having these things in our hands to go and explore new worlds, and go where danger is there, and you can send these machines in there to learn more, and it's only going to help us because as humans we're flawed. We are flawed
Mhm.
to the core. And you made mention of the monkeys. Just like anyone, you take a child, you take a dog, you take anything, and you give it a different circumstance, they will react differently. You put
Mhm.
someone in a cage, like a person. You put a person in a cage, they're going to react differently. You put a
Mhm.
person, they're coddled and everything. They're going to act differently. They may not be able to survive in the outside of their home, but you put
Mhm.
somebody in a situation where they have to survive, they'll always survive. So I think that we need to look a little deeper into how this is going to work. My concern is that governments are going to get involved and screw everything up, like they always do. Because everybody wants to control it. It shouldn't be something that's controlled. It should be something that is not that forget about centralized or decentralized, just something that's there that everyone can just take a piece of and make happen, so that we can have a better tomorrow, better than we have today.
Mhm. Absolutely, guys. This is absolutely wonderful, and thank you both for the time today. I want to get to closing thoughts here as we come to wrap. And on Rock and Roll VCTV Fridays here today, there's a ton more to talk about. There's a ton happening in the industry today. It's a busy, busy day. So I want to come to each of you on your closing thoughts of where should people really, really be excited about Industrial 4.0, right? What other advice do you have to give them? Because this isn't going to slow down. We're only going to speed up. So Gary, let's start with you. Closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online
Yeah,
about the
sure.
Industrial 4.0?
So as I've said, this is a great time. This whole
Mhm.
digital transformation has pushed us forward in a whole lot of ways. I think that the companies that are out there, startups that are out there that have AI, focus on areas where you can really have a big impact. Do your customer discovery and test it to make sure it's something that people want. In terms of robotics, I mean, it's the same as AI, right? This is the beginning of the 20th century, and this is electricity. And so the opportunities are open. It won't be like this forever. So look at where those opportunities are and look where the convergence is. You can reach me, Gary Fowler at LinkedIn or Gary@gsdvs.com. I'd love to hear from you, and good luck. Stay safe.
Wonderful. Louis, to you.
Yeah, Gary's on point. All I can say is that the opportunity is here now. Okay. And I'm going to echo what Gary said. It's not going to be here forever. If you have an idea, be fearless as an entrepreneur, be fearless, go out there, try to make it happen, bring it to the right people. And I'm going to say this every show. If you're looking for an investor, make sure you have an investor that's going to get their hands dirty, that's going to work with you as a partner, not as someone that's just shelling out a couple of shekels to you and saying, hey kid, go make me a dime. No, you need people that are going to come together, that are going to help you. You see it, and an example is Snowflake. You have the investors that came in with big money initially, well, when they did it, and they helped them to build it. And what happened? We had the biggest software IPO of all time just the other day. Okay, the company went from 3 billion to 70 billion, 60 billion, whatever it is, whatever the valuation is. Point is, don't be afraid to take a chance. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to help change the world in the way that you can. The littlest things make the world of difference. Look at Facebook, how it changed how we do things in a daily. You can find me. You can go to fjapartners.com. You can go to megahood.com. You can find out more about me. And yeah, and as Gary said, I'm always willing to speak to anyone that may need a little guidance.
Absolutely. And when you do reach out to our great friends and investors here, along with any other investors that are on VCTV, make sure you add context. Make sure you add context as to where you met them, VCTV, and or what you heard them speak about as well, to give that context, give that relevancy, to really spark the relationship and not just the ask. It's very, very important. It's a lesson we continue to talk about and we'll continue to emphasize here on VCTV. Gentlemen, thank you so much for spending your Friday morning with us here on VCTV. Rock and Roll Edition.
I want to interrupt you 1 second. You said Rock and Roll Edition. We're having fun. I want to introduce a little baby here. Gary, smile, buddy.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah, Rock and Roll Friday. We're gonna have this every Friday. Gary, you gotta throw one on, brother. You got to do it.
Okay, all right, sounds good. I have my Kiss shirt. I'll put my Kiss shirt from a long time. I still have it.
There you go. Hey, that works. That works. That's iconic.
That's perfect. And Gene Simmons getting into crypto, as we talked about yesterday on our FinTech and Blockchain edition. Gary, that's a perfect outfit. I love it. Guys, thank you both so much. I want to wrap it up here as it's Friday. Let's go and enjoy our days. Let the audience do the same. To the audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to be on a show like today, whether that's Rock and Roll Fridays or that's any other edition of VCTV here. We'd love to have you and join not just Louis and Gary, but all of our esteemed, thank you, Gary, esteemed panelists and investors that come on the show here as well. And entrepreneurs, again, we would love to have you on the show to get up on the virtual stage, pitch your company, pitch your startup to us and to the live audience, get feedback, get some relationships, and really build that next company that you're putting together to take over the Industrial 4.0, as we've heard today. Also, a big thank you to Maria and to the entire LATOKEN team for making VCTV possible. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me on all social media at Kyle Ellicott. And we'll be back here next week for more double-packed episodes every single day of VCTV. With that, everyone have a great day, great weekend. Gentlemen, rock and roll, and we will see you all.